Okay, we are live. Hey, welcome to How to Build Your Own Home every Thursday from 5 to thereabouts 6, sometimes 5:30. We do live chat. We take some questions for a lot of our students that are chiming in, and we try to answer those. I want to start off today with something to be aware of, and it's something that has hit me upside the head, and I didn't see it coming because I wasn't prepared, and that's the price of oil. Price of oil, a barrel of oil has shot from $50 to $99 in less than a month. And as I was checking just before I went on here, it's 101.93 a barrel. And so I want to explain what that does to your bill. Now, it's not something to necessarily worry too much about, but it can affect you, especially if oil goes up higher over the long haul. If you got your lumber package bid out 2 months ago, a month ago, or whatever, you might want to try to lock that in because oil affects the transportation delivery mechanism for every product on the planet. It affects everyone. So right now, everyone is paying the price for the increase of oil per barrel. And when that jumps 50% in just a month, now it affects some things sooner than others. And yes, there's probably a lot of unnecessary speculation with regard to that. But because of the war in Iran and the Straits of Hormuz and the oil embargo, not the oil embargo, but just things can't get past the Strait of Hormuz. Now, why it's affecting Americans, I don't know, because from my research, roughly 7% of the oil that we need basically comes from the Middle East. We have a lot of our own oil, so we're not going to see prices like you see in Europe, like you see perhaps in the East and Orient, China, Japan. They're oil dependent, meaning they don't have any natural resources, so they have to get it from another source. And so prices there are going to be skyrocketing. And if you're buying materials from overseas and they don't have energy or they're lacking in energy, that's going to affect your prices of things. Now, I've seen spikes go $100, $120 a barrel in just a 3 month period of time. And that really did affect my prices. So on your budget, your line item for your budget, just make sure that you have an extra contingency in your lumber and a lot of your big ticket items. Portland cement, that could actually increase in price. Check your batch plants and ask them, do they suspect any price increases? Like I was given a call by my insulator today, and he says, Keith, we need to make a call on the insulation for these jobs, and he listed them. We know that you wanted a certain blow-in insulation. Prices are increasing in the next 15 days. Do you want to lock that in? I go, yeah. So he sent me the contract. I went ahead and locked it in. So you're going to want to be aware of that kind of thing. If you're not locking these things in, you can actually get hit with a little bit of a price increase. It could be 5%, it could be 15, 20%. You never know. But on the big ticket items, especially items that are manufactured overseas or products that are coming from overseas, that's a big item. And the transportation. So if you're getting lumber, Douglas fir, and it's coming out of Oregon or it's coming out of Canada, that transportation on that big diesel is going to be a big effect. Now your delivery cost is a little bit double. So I want everyone to be aware of that. Don't stress out about it, but watch it. Like if you are planning to build this year, watch that price of oil go down or watch it go up, because that's going to be an effect on your budget. I once built a home back, as it wasn't during COVID, it was much further back. And it was when interest rates were at their lowest. Remember that, honey? They were like 2%. And there was just
2.8, 3.
massive building going on, really, really low interest rates. Well, that increased, that was a spike in building, a massive spike. Everybody was building, everybody had a demand, supply and demand. So lumber was 28% higher than it was last week during that time. So watch oil and watch interest rates. Now, I know there's a lot of talk with the administration trying to bring interest rates down substantially to offset costs for oil. But if that doesn't happen, you get kind of a double whammy. So remember when I said back in the fall of last year, right now is a really good time to build? Didn't I say that? I said that a couple of times. And if a lot of students had started, or if you're in the middle of building right now, you are capitalizing on some of the lowest prices we've seen in a long time. So be aware. And the best advice I can say to people is there's never the perfect time to build. There's always just let's get done and get started. Because if you sit around and wait for things to get better, and I know there were people way back in October and November last year, and even September and August, they were waiting for it to get better, but that was probably the best time to start. So I want you to be aware of that. Watch your budgets before you start. Make sure you have sufficient contingencies in there. And if you have any questions on that, we can answer them. Let's take some questions real quick.
Sorry, I'm replying. Okay, we have the first one. This is a 2. It got split in half.
It's a 2-part question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good evening. Hello. EMQZ8WJ.
I know the new tags are hard.
I remember mention where you're coming from or where you're building. It kind of helps us out.
Yeah.
I want to add a gable vent to my townhouse that doesn't have one. I want to help cool the attic down. I have soffits and ridge vent, but still very hot. Is it okay? Yeah, just check your local area. My plan is to add an attic fan attached to the gable vent. I hope I'm not making a mistake. Thanks. If I knew where you were building, then that would affect my answer to that. For example, if you're in Texas and Arizona, yeah, you're going to want a fan on that because it's going to get brutally hot. But if you're in up in Seattle or somewhere place like that, even San Diego along the coast, you just need the vent only. And you want to get that vent as high as you can so you get into the pitch of that roof, not too low down, but as high as you possibly can. But depending on where you are, that would determine. My father put in some vents, some gable vents on a bed and breakfast he ran for many, many years. And during the summer, when that heat hit that roof and it was asphalt and it really warmed things up, we put an aluminum roof on and it calmed it down substantially. But I could hear that fan going, and he had fans at both ends of the gable roof. One fan was sucking in and one fan was pulling out. So it was actually pulling air throughout the entire attic because he didn't have any soffit venting. So if you have soffit venting, that's great. That's going to help out. So again, based on where you're living, I would determine what I would actually do. So just a single vent without forced air, that's going to do a lot for you. So good question. The Ma Pearl, Western Washington ADA 1-story electric bid, $37,000. Okay, get some more bids. I can tell you right now.
Get 3 bids. Get 3 bids.
Get 3 bids if you can. Western Washington, that's Western Washington. You're not even on the coast. And it's an ADA, accessory dwelling unit, which is probably not more than maybe 200, maybe 300 square feet tops. I can't see how or why that electric bid is that high. The materials on that, I can probably bet you that the material costs on that are probably not more than $6,000-7,000. To be honest, I'm really being honest. A 150 amp panel, you can get that for a couple $100, and all the wiring and all the boxes. It's you need. I could go on that one. That's really high. I get bids like that for large homes. All right, where I'm at. And you might want to look further west or even further south, depending on where you are, and see if you can't get some bids from Idaho if they're double licensed in those states. So just shop around and go out with a 30-mile radius. And if they're still high, increase to the 50 miles and see what happens. You might find some surprising bids if you go out that far. Okay, good question. Hi, y'all. First time builder looking to build simple, economical 3-2 on a flat property. I think I'm about buying plans and working with the designer to formalize this. Is this a good path? Don't buy any plans at all. Just work with a designer. And I have two in mind. You can go to the how to build your own home. It's in the download section. I have two people there that are phenomenal. I'm adding another one too, but just check them out. They're really affordable, about $1.50 a square foot. I'm just going to give you the skinny. Every time you buy a plan online, you are still stuck with the elevations that you have to draft for this city or local jurisdiction. You're still stuck with the site plan, and the site plan has to fit also on where you're going to build. And then you're going to need that site plan for the septic if you're going to do septic. The geotech engineer can't move forward without that site plan. All those plans online, they don't include that. Okay. And then they don't include the engineering that might be specific to your local area. So I always tell people, get a drafter wherever you want and get your engineer locally. And you're going to save headaches, and you're also going to save some costs. You can find land plans online. I like this plan. I kind of like the floor plan. I just took a screenshot of it. Can we kind of start off that way? And I go, sure, but don't buy anything online. Okay.
I'm just gonna. Everybody's putting in where they're from. So Ma Pearl, look, here's somebody else in Western Washington.
Okay.
So that's cool. Maybe catch up. In our Discord, we have 4 different regions and groups, and people are connecting. So if you get on our how to build your own home self-managed package, there's a Discord. You can be in the Discord and communicating with all the students.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I'm going to do,
This is
I'm in
fine.
Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia.
Okay. Eastern Panel, Washington. Okay. I know where that is.
Okay.
Compared to traditional HVAC, what are your thoughts on small duct high velocity systems like Unico? I like them. They're just a little pricey. As long as they use the PVC system, which is very smooth on the inside. It's not got ribs or anything like that. So it's very smooth. You're not going to have any friction. And as a result, they can fit in a smaller location. They're just very pricey. Right now, PVC is at an all-time high. And given the fact that oil is going to be higher, that's going to affect the cost of PVC. But they're nice. I've done some of those builds up in Park City where they did that high efficiency, and it's in a duct system in a PVC, and they can range from 2 to 3, sometimes 4 inches, not that big. And it's high efficiency going right inside the bedroom, bathroom, wherever it's going to go. A lot of pipe, but it's very efficient.
So the Ma Pearl has some more bids, which is
That's a
good to
nice
share.
aluminum shingle roof, 34,000. Insulation rock wool, 30,000 plus tax. What do you think about the bids? That rock wool, it depends. What was the cost? What was the square footage of the home on that one? What did it come before that?
It didn't say yet. Okay, maybe we'll come back to Ma Pearl.
Yeah, we'll come back to Ma Pearl. If you can find out how many square is on that roof, and then find out the square footage inside the house. Okay, and I can tell you.
I don't know what this
Trucking
is.
Travels 23. Parapet wall or sloped metal roof? Really, really good question. I haven't had a question like that in a long time. That's really, HOA might have some issues. So you check your HOA. They may require a parapet wall, but I would go with a sloped metal roof, because if you have a parapet wall, that's a dam. That's a leak waiting to happen. And you don't need that to happen. Plus, if you use the TPO for flat roofs against the parapet wall, you're going to have to maintain that TPO within the next 7 years. In hot climates, maybe 12 years in cooler climates. It just doesn't handle it. It doesn't expand and contract very nicely. It just, when the heat hits it, even though the UV is bouncing off to some degree in a lighter color TPO material or any other material, it's still working its way into the substrate. So if I had a metal roof, then I'm going to have some sort of a ventilation underneath there, and only the metal roof is going to expand and contract. It's not going to work into the substrate so much. So I would go with a metal roof on that one. You may have to increase the pitch a little bit though. So keep in mind, metal roofs can only do, I think it's 312 or 212. That's the lowest they can go. Check with your roofing company and they will double check. Aluminum shingle is 412 pitch. Asphalt, it's the same, 4 or 512 pitch. That's as low as you can go. After that, it's a full membrane. It's like a flat roof. So Okay, good question.
Okay, we're gonna go back to the Ma Pearl. She says it's 1452 square feet.
Okay, go back to that one question. Rockwell,
1452.
1,400 square feet. Yeah, you can install that Rockwell yourself and save half that. To be honest with you, and if
What
it's an
about
inch
the
and a
roof?
half, if it's an inch and a half of mineral wool, they're charging you a fortune. The reason being is because they're probably not very skilled at installing it, and it's not hard to install. The fasteners you can buy online at Amazon. To be honest with you, I have some right here. They look like this. It's just a little fastener. You can get those on Amazon and get a whole bag for like $29. And you get several bags of these, plus the mineral wool, inch and a half mineral wool. And if you go to a box store and you buy over 10 bags, you get a discount. All right, you're buying in bulk. So you might want to at least find out about buying the material yourself. And then, plus the screws to go with this, a 3-inch screw in it goes in there, sucks it on there. All you need is 5 of these per 2 foot by 4 foot, inch and a half rigid mineral wool. So if you bought the material and then found out some handyman or someone to install it, they can install it. And then keep in mind you're gonna have to flash the windows because that insulation is going to come past the window now. So you have to do some flashing around the window. I have a lot of videos on this. And once you get that flashing out, that insulation goes right up against that flashing. It's really slick.
So are you talking about the outside or the inside?
Yep. Yeah, I think he's talking about the inside. Because if it's inside, that's still really pricey. For 1,400 square feet, I have a home. Where is that home? Oh, just behind me. I'm building a home, and that's $11,000. You know the home I'm talking about, honey.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
11 grand. That's a pretty big home. That's probably 2,800 square feet.
24, 2,800 square
28,
feet?
somewhere in that range. So, and even if we did rock wool, I don't do rock wool bats or rock wool inside the home. My main focus is the outside envelope. So let me know if it's the outside envelope. If it's the outside envelope, you can probably get all the insulation you need for between 8 and 11,000, somewhere in that range. And then you can pay somebody a couple of grand to put it up, but you don't need to pay that much.
But if it's for the inside, if they're doing the inside and all the walls, and so
I don't know.
We need more. But on the shingle roof, the aluminum shingles.
Yeah, the aluminum shingles. Here's the thing. Although these are some of my favorite products, a lot of builders don't use them. And because they don't use them, they're scared. And so they charge more because they're uncertain about those products. And if they got a little more informed, like I have a roofer and he charged me a little more on a first job, he's getting better at his bidding and he's bringing his prices down because now he knows how to do that. So it's really about knowing how to install. And if you want, you can take your plans, go to Permalock, just type in Permalock, and then find out how to reach out to Permalock and say, hey, can you bid me the cost of materials for this roof? And he'll bid it for you. Now you just need to find somebody to do the install. So they're probably making up a charge. It's too big of a price markup on the materials. And I know where the materials should be. They should be between $325 to $425 a square, which is a 10 by 10 section on a roof. And so that 1,400 square foot home, let's say that it's 20 square. That's being conservative. So 20 square times another 250 for install, so maybe 550. All right, we're talking, let me do that again. So 20 square times 350, that's 7 grand to 8 grand for the material, plus shipping could be around 9 or 10. And then you might pay the same amount to install. So that's about a 10 grand savings there, or actually more, 14, 15,000. So they're charging you an arm and a leg for something they're not aware of. So you can also contact Permalock and ask them, hey, I'm looking to build in this particular area. I'd like to buy direct from you. I'm a builder. Don't say you're an owner builder. Do you have any installers locally? and he can give you some people, possibly, depending on where you are. And he might be able to help you out. I think he needs to just get a roving install crew to go throughout the nation in an RV, and the families just get the product dropped off, and then they come and install it. I think that's what needs to happen. But we need to get like 5 roofs a month.
Hey, David brought up a good point. David Parker. He says you want steel
Yeah, the steel
fasteners.
ones are good, and you can use them. I didn't, and yeah, I use them behind rock. Okay,
Oh,
but these won't melt because they're behind hardy. That cement board is phenomenal stuff. But I use the rock wool for just an additional insulation. Plus, it's mold proof. Plus, it's fire retardant. So you can use the metal ones, and there's some spikes in there. And if you have stucco, not just stucco, but a lath product where you're putting rock or brick to it, I use the metal ones because the metal ones have kind of a rough edge to them, and the lath squishes in there really, really nicely. So make sure you use those, the metal ones.
yeah, David, thanks for bringing that up because not everybody would know that. Thanks. Here's another
Is
one.
there a way, this is from David Parker, is there a way to elude the impermeable barrier on the inner wall? I think it may be code where I live, but the most learned refute it. I have seen it fail over and over. Yes. I'm not a fan of that impermeable barrier. Now, in some climates, it might be necessary because the humidity is so insane, but your temperature outside is also insane. So keep this in mind. Heat chases cold. So if it's super hot outside and it's going to be cold inside and it's humid outside, that heat is going to try to chase inside that home, and it's going to bring with it humidity. And that is a recipe for disaster because you have a cold condensing surface. As soon as that humidity enters a cold environment, it's going to condense on something cold, just like a pitcher of lemonade in the summertime. It's going to condense on that cold surface, and it's going to drop, and it's going to create moisture and mildew. That's what you have to watch out for. So it may just be that you have a somewhat of a vapor permeability on the outside, but I am not a fan of doing that on the inside. And to be honest with you, I have not found any real science for sealing off the inside of a home with plastic membrane. And I know some people still do it, but I like to see my home breathe. But I live in a colder barn, cabin than most people do. My wife likes it at 68. I like it a little warmer, but that doesn't produce much of a problem. It's when you're really the temperature differences are so radical from the inside of the wall to the outside of the wall. When it gets to be that radical, that's when you don't want any humidity coming from the outside to the inside. So to check with your local buildings and talk with them and ask them to explain the science as to why they're asking for an impermeable barrier on the inner wall. Ask them to explain that. And then ask them, what if you use the mineral wool? It's breathable. And so it acts as a rain screen on the outside. Ask them if that can retard that and not have to put it on. So just talk and discuss that with them. Okay.
Yeah, all our videos are for educational purposes. Always go to code. Always
Yeah.
go find out what your code is for your
Yeah.
local area. Okay, this is a two-part question from Brady.
Okay. Brady, saw your recent video with polished concrete floor. My client wants to do it for upcoming barn door build.
Barno.
Haven't done it before. Was shocked at the estimated cost starting at around $10 to $12 per square foot. Is that typical? Can you talk about cost for polished concrete floor? Eastern Idaho, Western Wyoming. Really good question.
Do you remember how
it's
much
not
yours
too.
was?
What's that?
Do you remember how much ours was?
She had a family member do it for her, and then she got a real good deal.
Okay.
But you could get some high-end floors for that price. So just consider it a high-end floor. And again, that's pea gravel they put on there. And here's the trick. my client wanted her nephew to polish it and grind it down. My concrete guy power washed it 4 hours after it was formed up. And that power washing showed a little bit of divots and everything. So that's why she came in with her nephew and ground it down and made it a polished floor. Now, to be honest with you, you can rent that material. You can rent that machine to grind that down and polish it. And it's the same as sanding a floor. You can rent a sander that can come in your home and sand a wood floor. It's the same situation. You're just going to have some a pad that's got some heavy grit on it, and you may go through several of those, and it can grind it all down. Once it's ground down, you suck it up, and then you put a sealer on it, and you put a coat on it of clear coat, and you're good. It's a matter of whether you want to do it yourself, hire some handyman to do it, but it's not that pricey. That point, I can see how it could be much higher than that, but that's not too bad given that's really close to some flooring that I put in. So it's sixes really when you think about it. Just make sure you insulate that floor on the outside. You don't want it wicking into the cold, especially in eastern Idaho and western Wyoming. You got some cold winters there. So if you insulate that foundation on the outside, you should be okay. Okay, next question. Trucking Travels 23. Why do you think of trimless doors? What do you think of trimless doors? It's called a kerf door. They're complicated to install. Here's the trick. If I can give you an example here of a kerf door, this might be it. This little box here. A kerf door is where there's a piece of metal that comes right down that little edge right there, and it overlaps that way. And so all the mud and drywall gets put on like that. And so you have a clean, just like that. The door literally looks like that. It looks that clean. And the benefit is that you don't have to put trim on. The downfall is if that door is not installed just right, you got a lot of planing to do later on, because that drywall is going to lock that frame in just ever so tightly. So I've got a framer over there on a job. We'll do a video on this. He's actually installing kerf doors right now. And then there's two different styles. There's a couple of them, but basically bullnose and the square. So when that drywall comes right to that kerf, that little groove, it stops there. It has a little bracket, kind of like a J channel that gets squished in there. And then the drywall gets right up to it, and then they mud right over it. It's nice and clean. So the bullnose is nice because you rub up against it. It's soft. The square is a cleaner look, but it has that sharp kind of edge to it. And if you hit it with your shoulder, that can hurt a little bit. So do your due diligence and find out which one you want. Again, you take all the labor in casing and you throw it out the window, and now you're putting all that labor in drywall. Okay. And there's a little extra labor on the door install. Also, you have to install the doors before you do the drywall. And so that can risk the doors getting banged up because they're installed sooner rather than later. So you have to be ready for that. Plus, you're installing the doors before you install the flooring. So now you got to trim the bottom of the doors, get that flooring underneath it just perfect, whether it's tile or carpet or wood. Once you get that underneath there, you're okay. It's just a little harder. So keep that in mind. Extra labor for something that saves in some labor, but not a lot.
Okay.
Alan Bill, K9G. How much work can be done on attic space before it's no longer considered storage space? Plumbing, electric, insulation, framing, etc. West Central Washington. Really, really good question. You might want to talk with your building officials, because I've done that very thing. And the building department asked us to put a 50 amp circuit inside the upstairs, but nothing else. That way I had power run up. He asked us to stub in the sewer line, but to cap it so it's there. And then HVAC, if you're in attic trusses, you can install that later because it goes inside the truss situation. But you may want to get some of your trunk lines in before you do the floor and before you do everything else. So talk with a building official on that one. I do know that they do like to have it insulated. And if it's insulated, they like to see the drywall. It doesn't have to be tape and textured, but some allow you to stop just before insulation. Some make you stop up to drywall. And you might want to talk with your building officials on that. And also, they may ask you to have a fire rated door at the top of the stairs. So if it's unfinished, that's going to be a fire rated door to seal off everything. So a lot of different things you're going to run into. Just check with your local building official and find out from them. Okay. Okay, Ian, one more question. Re-gable vent, and should I use flashing tape around the cutout part? Do I also need J-channel around the rectangular vent or not? J-channel is needed. Thanks. It depends on that vent. I'm trying to think here. If you have tape, if you have tape or flashing Tyvek or whatever, and you put that on there, you can put the gable vent right on there as long as that flashing, that Tyvek overlaps the rest of the paper on the wall. So if you have any exposed wood anywhere, that water, if it does get behind there, that water is going to come and hit that paper, that tape you've got around the vent, and it's going to come down and it's going to hit that bare part, and then you're going to have some damage. Make sure you have overlap. So if water ever gets behind something, it has the ability to overlap all the way down until it hits a J channel. I just saw a student gave me some video, and I was kind of worried about it because he took the J channel for his shiplap all the way to the concrete. I mean, all the way. There's no gap there. So that means there's no ventilation and there's no way for water to easily extricate itself from behind the shiplap. So make sure you have a 3/4 inch to an inch of gap between the deck, the concrete, the porch, whatever it is, and the actual siding material, so that if it comes down, it hits that perforated J channel at the bottom, and then it drains out that way. So again, always think in terms of water. Always think in terms of how it's going to flow, and can it remove itself from the house pretty effectively, okay? Michael, are you still planning to have Denny on to talk OmniBlock? Yes, I've got a commercial job. It's very complicated. Denny will be coming up for that one. And hopefully that in the next couple months, we will be doing another video on OmniBlock. So, but we need to have him on our show. So
Yeah.
So, JDST Comp. Do you think electrician would be willing to wire and connect a sub panel for me while I do all the wiring myself for ADU? You can do that yourself, but you can hire an electrician just to come do that. And he may just say, yeah, I'm only going to go this far. He'll take pictures as to how far he went, and then the rest you can do yourself. But you can ask, find out.
Ask. Just ask.
Legally, you can do all your own plumbing, electrical, and HVAC in most of your states. You just can't sell it within 2 years. Keep that in mind. Okay. Building in Texas, I had a few quotes for HVAC. They all suggest a 5-ton unit, except for one contractor. He said he talked with Denny and suggested a 3.5 ton because the OmniBlock walls. Yes, listen to Denny. I did a big home all out of OmniBlock, and we were able to reduce the HVAC substantially because of that. Keep in mind, the OmniBlock is a thermal bank. It will actually bank your heat and bank your cool at various times of the year. And so when you have banked all that energy, the HVAC system doesn't have to fight as much. Compare it to drywall. Can you bank a lot of heat or cold in drywall? Not as much as you can in OmniBlock. OmniBlock's got 1.5 inches of concrete, styrofoam for the most part, another 1.5 inches of concrete, styrofoam, and then another 1.5 inches of concrete. It's got that massive thermal break, a massive slow derailing of transfer of heat and cold from side to side. So that first layer there, the first 1/4 inch is your bank. Even though it's thicker than that, that first 1/4 inch is your bank, and that's where you're putting all your cool temperatures in the summer. It's where you're putting all your cool temperatures or warm temperatures in the winter. So that's how it saves on the efficiency of your HVAC system. Okay, good question.
This is, I don't know if this is really a question, but just a statement.
The state of Alaska requires a non-permeable moisture barrier on interior wall. My walls are 2 by 6 exterior, half-inch plywood exterior sheeting. Interior to 2 by 6 walls is high density foam. Is that closed cell foam? Or open cell? Yeah, that's a problem in Alaska because you've got humid
Oh, one more
fall
part. It's
temperatures.
just down. Do the
Yeah.
second part.
Joints on the foam are taped. The foam has 2 by 4 wall interior to that with 4-inch bats, R41 all together. The HD foam served as a non-permeable barrier. New build, what do you think? If it's a non-permeable barrier, ask them if they're okay with that. And the neat thing is that foam, if it's closed cell, that's an inch and a half plus of non-permeable barrier. So ask them if that would work for you, rather than have to put in some cellulose or cellophane or just any kind of plastic or anything like that, which I'm not a fan of. To be honest with you, I really don't know why they do that. I honestly don't know. Again, it's the extreme temperatures, extreme warm on the inside, 70, 72, 75 degrees, and probably negative 30 on the outside. I'm just guessing. It could be 0 degrees on the outside. That extreme temperature drop and coupled with massive humidity flowing into that wall, that's your enemy. And so if you've got that combination that's happening, that's why you have a problem. So that's why you're getting that absolute non-permeability in that wall. You're trying to stop that from happening. Okay.
David has a good point on this one. He says trimless doors would be kind of dumb if you have kids. Your kids will just chip them all the time, and you will either fix them all the time or they will look terrible.
They're hard to fix. So if you hit the bull nose one, you can dent it really easy, and it's really hard to fix. It has a look, it has a very contemporary, clean, modern look to it, if that's what you're going for. But it's not the best for family. Not at all.
Back to the Alaska. Oh, did we already get that part? I think we did. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Peter Hobbs.
I'm concerned about hiring rogue subcontractors on big ticket items, just as the concrete foundations and framing. Any thoughts, advice on protecting folk running off with deposits? Yeah, I don't, to be honest, in my neck of the woods, all my subcontractors will start their work and they don't demand anything until they get something accomplished. And if they want the work, that's what they're going to do. And other areas, because it's probably a little more cheesy and dicey and maybe not that kosher, people demand a little bit of money up front. But if you deal with your lien rights in your state and you have a construction lien, or not a lien, but a notice of commencement with the state, that should protect you, because now if something's not done, then you should be able to come after that one. And don't do anything without insurance. So if that subcontractor has insurance, and you'll get what's called a NOI, notice of insurance, and you'll have that before you issue any kind of a check. Once you have that, now if something goes awry and he doesn't follow through, you can go after his insurance. I did that many years ago. I had a client, I got a pinhole from a finished nailer. He hit a pipe, and it had a pinhole in the pipe, and it leaked. And the carpenter went off and left with another company, but that other company that he was working for, they were liable for it. Well, I had the insurance NOI before they even started, so I called the insurance company and let the insurance company know. The next day, that guy called me, and he was on the job fixing it. So you have to make sure what you're engaging in contract. You're reading and writing and engaging in contract. You're not doing arithmetic. You're engaging in contract. And if you know how to protect yourself with just the subtle little things like that, you're going to be heads and shoulders above everyone else, and you're going to be protected. Okay.
Good question.
Okay, LC 1991 LC. Hello, everyone. What's your opinion on using PEX throughout a home versus copper, or is a combo of both better? I prefer the PEX. If you're in a cold climate, that copper is going to freeze and snap. It's just a matter of time. Down below subgrade, they use some copper. They use some copper coming out for bathtubs and for fittings. I can understand that, but immediately it goes right back into PEX. PEX has the capacity to expand. Copper does not. And I broke my teeth on copper years ago. My dad had a heating system in his old bed and breakfast, and it was all copper, all copper. And he had more splits and cracks in that pipe than you can shake a stick at, constantly trying to fix it. He had to literally run the heating system just a little bit just to keep the system from freezing. Now, there's antifreeze type products you can put in that don't freeze, but it's still a hassle. And so I stay away from copper. Okay, what is the best thickness for a subfloor for open truss system? I heard it bounces if the subfloor is not thick enough. We will glue and screw. Okay, really good question. There's two products out there. One that's pretty much a TNG or tongue and groove product, and it's pretty much 3/4 inch subfloor or a flake or OSB board. You can also get plywood for the same thickness. However, if you really want to avoid sponginess in a floor, you can get a product that's 1 inch and 1/8 thick, and it comes in 2 foot by 4 foot, or 2 foot by 4 foot lengths, I think. And I've used it on homes. And there's also a product like, some of it looks like a particle board, and I'm not impressed with that. Other products are plywood in nature, so it looks like a really thick piece of plywood. But I solved that problem by just using 3/4 inch TNG product, tongue and groove product, and I do engineered floor trusses that are 2x4 engineered floor trusses. So I've got 1 inch and 3.5 inches of support, and then I try to do my trusses 16, 18 inches on center. I don't go 2 foot on center. That's the problem. It gets spongy when you expand those floor trusses. So if I can go 16 on center, and it ends up being 1 or 2 extra trusses, big deal. At least you now have a lot more solidity, more truss. And it's the truss that's going to be the deciding factor. I don't use TGIs on that. I don't like TGIs. And so I avoid TGIs. I go with an engineered floor truss. And I would put my money into an engineered floor truss that over the thicker floor by far, because now with the engineered floor truss, you've got all that webbing inside there. So mechanical can fit plumbing, electrical, HVAC through there. And that's your big plus, is going that route. Okay. Good question. Marcella Marbon. I remember you talking about minimizing penetrations in the wood, but many HVAC contractors want to penetrate each exhaust vent independently. I have a total of 5. Should I push back? Say no, you can't push back on code because I'll know better. 5 is fine. I try to keep them under the eave if I possibly can, and they can seal those off. You do not want to marry them, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's say if you're in a bathroom A and somebody's in a laundry room, okay? I've seen this happen before, and they turn on the fan in the bathroom, and you're blowing stuff into the laundry. Not a good thing to do. By the way, I just did a video. It's going to come out in a week or two. A gentleman that one of my students met at the International Building Show actually has a ventilation system for toilets, and it's very slick. And it has a sensor, so the minute you come into the bathroom, it reads that someone's in there, and it starts sucking in air from it inside the toilet, and it eliminates smell. It's pretty cool. Watch for that video to come out in about a week or two. And it's interesting technology. I didn't even believe it myself, but it's pretty cool. So look for that.
David has a good point.
Be very careful on any contracts you sign. You should always check with your state's building association and get typical contracts for your area. Horror stories about people signing non-standard ones. Yeah, look at your state. Like in real estate, states have a standard contract that they kind of manage. See if they manage. You're going to probably see that in states like Washington, California, and maybe Florida and states like that. Other states like Texas and other places, you won't see those contracts as much, but check around and find out. Okay.
Thanks, Peter, for this opportunity.
Could you tell us a little about your course? Yeah, I have two courses. One's the First Steps course, and the First Steps course is really 1,000-foot level, and it helps you identify real cost per square foot in your area. There's a module, number 3, that has a formula that I run you through that formula, and it really tells you what the cost per square foot is. But you have to go through that formula 2 or 3 times to really know what that is. And then the other course is the self-managed course. Has 50 plus checklists, subcontractor agreements, a standard sample. I'm not an attorney. I just give it to you. It's a Word file, and you can manipulate it all you want. It has exclusions and inclusions, and you can do whatever you want on that. And then it has an incredible budget, and it's a working budget. So it allows you to track your draws on top of that. And there's video instruction throughout the whole thing. So it's very affordable. We haven't upped the price in all the times we've had it for these couple of years. So it's invaluable. If you're not organized in that way, you're risking it. I'm just being honest. You really need something like this and it's nice to print up 4 checklists on framing, print them up, go on a job site and look at the checklist and say, oh, I need to look at that. And you go look at them. And then you can send a picture if something doesn't work right. You can send it to the framer. Hey, can you fix this? Because you're checking things off as you go. Plumbing, HVAC, framing, you name it, has all those checklists in there. And it's growing too. I've got another checklist coming for a sauna. So if you're interested in building a sauna, I should hopefully have that out in the next couple of weeks.
Yep. It's really good. And then the students have asked questions in there. You can see that. And then with the self-managed, you can be a part of the Discord group, which everybody is in there talking, and there's different areas that you can collaborate. People find out that they're close to each other and they can help with subcontractors. And yeah, it's a great group.
Right.
We've had a couple meetups. We need to do some more meetups.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Let's see here.
I have liked PEX, especially PEX A, but have concerns now about microplastics. But then again, I think the city imports water with plastic pipes. Yep. You can do all you can with your pipes, but what about the pipes that are coming from a distance? Maybe I'm fine. I'm too uptight. I don't think you're uptight. Just get a nice filter system. And we did a video on a gentleman who has a really nice filter system.
Look back
on it. Just go look back and you'll see a filter system. I guess we had on our show some time ago.
But, a month or 2 ago.
Yep. Yeah. A couple of months ago.
This is great.
Hello from attic while I'm roughing HVAC. Thanks, Keith. Okay. Yeah.
We're in the attic. Okay.
Is the budget good for building North? Yes, it's good for anywhere in the country. It's a detailed budget. So what that means is that you go through each line item. Oh, do I need a chimney cap? Yeah. Oh, do I need doors and tile and whatever? It has everything there. So you're not going to go and create a budget. Oh, I forgot that. The budget blocks to remind you what you need to get a bid for. Okay.
Yep. It'll save your bacon. Whoops, wrong one.
Keith, will you consider coming to North Carolina to help me build this house? That's interesting. I've got a nephew and a niece that are actually moving there. So I may have to go out and visit them. I don't know. So a lot of building in North Carolina. A lot of owner builders in North Carolina. How detailed should a request for quote be? Well, you want to try to get your materials and your labor separated if you can. Then exclusions and inclusions, meaning things they will do or things that cost a little more. That's a little detailed. One thing I like on my bids that come in, I want them to give me a total number of days to completion. Okay, not when they're going to start, total number of days to completion. That way, when they start, I see their total number of days of completion, and I go, oh, 5 days, 6 days, 16 days. Okay, then I can pretty much guesstimate when they're going to finish and how I can schedule other people. If that's not in there, you can ask them to put it in there. They should be okay. They can write it in there if they want. It just helps you with your scheduling.
I want to go back to Andrea, Keith is also on the question come to build. How to build your own home. He also has like consultation packages, so you can call and talk to him for an hour. We've had a lot of people do house plans, like go over the house plans, because the more eyes you have, the better. That's same with the Discord. People upload their house plans and we'll go through like, oh, the bathroom would be better if you do this, or you don't want that bathroom right by the kitchen, dining area and different things. So there is a consult package too. Just
it's a 1 hour consult, and that's what I recommend. I've had several students do that 1 or 2 times, and it lines them out, and they have like 1,000 questions. I answer them all, and they're ready. They're on their way. And there's a larger package consult if you want a GC consultant. They can do that, but I tell people they can probably get it done with 2 or 3 different consults and save a lot of money.
And Brady, I know you'd be a great part. Let me talk to Keith about joining the Discord. Maybe we can have another. Let me talk to him about it. So go to contact the instructor on how to build your own home. So we have your info, and then I'll get in touch with you.
Trying to find land in Western Washington, pros, cons to building on site with an existing condemned building that will need to be removed. You should be able to negotiate the price substantially because you're solving a problem. I don't know the market there. I don't know what you're up against, but I would negotiate down. For example, I'm dealing with a client who wants to build outside here where there's a fire, and I'm trying to get her to work with the seller because the seller hasn't taken out any trees. So she's having to solve a problem that seller hasn't solved. So push back, especially if there's not a lot of selling or not a lot of buyers out there. If it is a buyer's market, then you need to recognize that. Put yourself in the driver's seat. Okay.
Get costs for the removal and then just say, hey, deduct that from the price.
Right.
Okay, let's see. Andrea. Yeah. Oh, I wish we could be in so many places at once. We'd love to.
I wish I could, but I can't. But look at that consultant. If you need some help there, just reach out for one of those 1 hour consults.
Okay? Yeah. Okay, that's what we've got today. Thanks, everyone.
And we will end it. We're just right there at an hour, pretty much. Again, watch the oil prices, folks, and watch your budget. And it's going to affect your big ticket items first in a really big way. Not so much, but enough to say, oh, darn, I wish I would have planned for that. So your concrete, your framing, and anything that is distributed or hauled or delivered to the job site, that's where the cost is going to go up. So watch those things. Don't get overly hot and bothered by it, but just be aware of it. It can affect your total line item, your total budget. So keep an eye on that. We'll be here next week. Actually, I'm hoping to get back. Yeah, we will be here next week from 5 to 6. We got a couple of events we're doing, but I will be might be on the road. So keep in mind, we'll be here next week from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll see you guys then. You guys take care.